Hello everyone and welcome to Cineful Gaming. I hope you're all doing well, I hope you're all staying safe, and most of all, I hope you're all fighting that war against the grey. Today's video, we are going to have a Black Library review for Warhammer 40k, or Warhammer 30k-ish, I guess. This is a story set in the 32nd millennium. Now, this one is an old story that has recently come back out on Audible. I remember reading this many years ago, but I've been enjoying the nostalgia of going back through these stories. This story is one of many that were the Space Marine Battles series of stories. We've done a couple of these already on the channel. I did the Fall of Damnos not too long ago. I've done Depth of Integrity, which is probably my favourite. It hasn't had its re-release yet, but I reread the book. And there's been a ton of others coming out, Rin's World, Hell's Reach, and some others as well that I really want to get to do them all because these are pivotal stories in the history of Space Marines. Now, Battle for the Fang is the Space Wolves. This is written by Wraight, and as always, well, and as I've noted towards, this came out on Audible and in audio version not too long ago. Again, this one is narrated by John Banks, who does an amazing job as always when narrating these stories. He's easily one of my favorite narrators that Games Workshop get on a regular basis. Does an amazing job with stuff. So with that said, let's talk about the story. And like I said, this story is set in M32, 1,000 years after the Horus Heresy. The Scouring is over and the Imperium is at its height of its post-Crusade power. You know, it's cleared out the traitors from the majority of the galaxy, all that sort of post stuff. This is after the era of the Beast and all of that. Now, when Magnus the Red is tracked down to a planet called Gangiva Prime, the Space Wolf hasten to engage the Demon Primarch, their sworn enemy. Even as the Great Wolf Harrick Ironhelm closes on his ancient enemy, the Fang, a fortress on the Space Wolves' homeworld, and arguably their chapter fortress, this is where everything important for the Space Wolves is kept, is besieged by a massive force of 1,000 suns. Now, a desperate battle ensues as the skeleton forces of Wolf Lord Vir Greylock attempt to hold back the attacking host before the last of his meager defences give in. Though a single scout ship does manage to escape the 1,000 Suns blockade and sneak attack, effectively destroying all of their spacebound support, this one scout ship managed to escape and attempts to summon the Great Wolf Harrick Ironhelm back to Fenris to save them, essentially. None of the defenders, though, truly realise the full scale of the horror that awaits them, nor what the battle for the Fang will cost them all. And so, what is the story's purpose? Now, this is a really interesting one. For the Space Marine battle novels, so many of them are just telling the events of major battles, but the Battle for the Fang is so much more interesting for many reasons than a lot of the others, which are sort of one and done. This is a very pivotal moment in the Space Wolves story and sets up, you know, pretty much their whole storyline and a lot of reasoning on why, say, things like they don't have successor chapters up until the Primarch rebooted Gilliman returns and the release of the Primaris Marines, and of course Belsar is cool and all of that. This shows Magnus as well getting the next part of his revenge, and indeed we learn about the first part of his revenge in this as well, which it goes through a little bit of detailing, but also showing that, you know, he gets an extra little bit on top of that as well. Obviously, Magnus and the 1,000 Suns, during the Horus Heresy, their homeworld was destroyed by the Space Wolves and by Leman Russ. I mean, Magnus had his previous body destroyed by Leman Russ itself. You know, he had his back broken on Leman Russ's knee. And so it really is an important story in the Space Wolves history, sort of setting them up and setting up really that true feud. I guess that true feud between them and 1,000 Suns. You know, the 1,000 Suns were attacked by the Space Wolves, and the Space Wolves sort of went, yeah, well, okay, we did it. But now the 1,000 Suns, this is that true big get back at the Space Wolves that starts, you know, that true feud between the two of them. And so our main character in the story, like there are a lot of characters that appear in this, like any of these Space Marine battle novels, but really it is Vir Greylock that we sort of focus on more than any of the other characters. Obviously, other characters like Harald Thraudir and Harik Ironhelm, the actual Great Wolf himself, play major parts. And we definitely see bits from Amos Temek and Hurum Alfael. Some of the Thousand Sons get their own time to shine. And indeed, Bjorn the Fell-Handed definitely takes up a bit of the story near the end as well. But it is Via Greylock, the Wolf Lord that is essentially a little bit different than all the other Wolf Lords. He's a bit more cunning, he's a bit more sneaky, he's a bit more the patient hunter. Not quite that wolf that's going to charge headlong into the fight. He's that wolf that is waiting for the perfect time. That's his sort of nature. But he is, without a doubt, our main character in the story. He leads the meager defense forces that are left as a skeleton garrison on the Fang, while the rest of the Space Wolves go hunt down what they think is Magnus the Red. Now, what changes about Vita Greylock over this, I guess, the time of the story? He's an interesting one because, like, these Space Marine battle novels, these are one and done. Most of the characters don't make it through in various different ways, especially the secondary characters. A lot of them will go the way, it happens when there are not many things going well for you. But what changes about him most of all, I think, is he would have made a fantastic leader had maybe Harik Ironhelm not been elected the Great Wolf Lord. I think there's not an awful lot of growth in him, in all honesty, and not an awful lot of growth in many characters that have very short motivations in these types of stories. But he definitely has, those aspirations to become the Great Wolf, and maybe if it wasn't that maybe his best friend was elected, he might have been a great wolf. What does this book do well, though? I think this really does a great job at showing the two sides of the Space Wolves. It shows, how they're viewed on the outside by maybe the less informed Thousand Sons, by many of the Carls, both those that are directly working for the Space Wolves, those that are maybe more Fenrisian, those that don't have much sort of communication with the Space Wolves, or, they're this weird looking thing, they're this weird thing that they never get to see, these, I guess, warriors of legend. But also, to the mortals that come fighting them, working for the Thousand Sons as well. It's really interesting getting this look at Space Wolves from the outside. But then we get a really good look at how the Space Wolves actually are. The Valka Fenrika look at them on, yes, they appear to be this savage and, I guess, disorganized bunch of warriors, but indeed they are maybe some of the greatest Space Marine commanders in all of the Imperium. The wolves look savage and look ferocious, but they are a pack and they hunt together and they are so well coordinated as a group. It's really quite interesting getting those two different looks, getting the outside and the inside look at the Space Wolves all at once, that I think this story does really well at showing both sides. Who would like this book, though? Obviously, Space Wolf fans, this is an integral part of the history of the Space Wolves. Such an important part. But also, what I like about these particular series, especially Space Marine Battles, I think this is an excellent book or series of books for anyone to pick up. You can pick up any one of these Space Marine Battle novels. I think you could even pick these up if you don't know Warhammer 40k. Many of them do really well to explain what is happening, what a Space Marine is like, how humans relate to Space Wolves is done really well in many of these, and indeed is in this one. I think if you're getting into 40k, these are actually really good books to get in with, as they show you a really interesting sort of look into 40k. So I think anyone can pick this up, but if you're a Space Wolves fan, this is pretty much a must-read, I think, showing you a really pivotal story in your chapter's history. And so, in summary, this is enjoyable. Like I said, I read this when I was much younger. I can't remember when this exactly came out. I think I was still in my teens when this first came out. This is, well over 10 years old, this story, I'm pretty sure. I really enjoyed it. This was a great trip down memory lane for me. Didn't disappoint, still holds up really well. Is an integral part of the Space Marines lore. These Space Marine battle novels have just been fantastic to go back and listen to once again. Brought into some new life by some fantastic narration once again by John Banks. If you are a Space Wolves fan, go and read this. If you're a Space Marines fan, go and read this. If you are just a Warhammer 40k fan, this is a cool story to go read. If you're not a Warhammer 40k fan, go and pick this up. This would be a great place to start into some Warhammer 40k lore. But if you have read, if you've listened to the Battle of Fang, especially if you've picked up the audio version, if you have, or indeed you read it a long time ago, like myself, let us know your thoughts on it down in the comments below. And so that is the end of the video. We hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, and drop a comment down below letting us know what you enjoyed about the video. If you'd like to come chat more with me and other members of our great little community here, Sinful Gaming has a Discord server, and there is a link to that in the video's description. Also down in the video's description is the best ways to help support the channel, either by Patreon or YouTube members, or you can grab some merch for the channel from either our Ko-fi or Teespring stores. As a special thank you to everyone who does support via Patreon and YouTube members, we'd like to give them all a shout out. So thank you to our Patreons: Christian, Weir, Soren, Kendy Lyle, Outer and Shot First, Andrew Bowen, The Rising Ape, Q Dynamic, JJ Austrian, Average Wargamer, Domir, Mark Harvey, James Cater, Benjamin Swallows, Red Martin, Iron Grinch, Colorblind Magic, Grimscold, and Andy C. And to our YouTube members as well: Green Roots Gaming, Ronya Lockloric, The Johnny84, David Ellsworth, Wolfric Nick, Broken Chef, Ariana Edwards, Revenar, Pink Nico Fire, Robin Mankiller, Monty Stabletop Terrain, Davis Weir, James Tillman, Gargamel196, and Disco. Lastly, a special thanks to Lady Witchfox Art, who does all the amazing artwork for the channel, and indeed to all our sponsors and everyone who helps on the channel in any way, whether it's coming on and playing battle reports, or indeed our amazing Discord mods, keeping everything there a fantastic place. Thank you all once again for watching, everyone. Stay safe, stay well, and most of all, keep fighting that war against the Grey. Ciao for now.